Welcome back to Child Time Pod. It's your host, Rick.
Videos today from men only. Wife can't stop crying as husband finds out after 50 years that his kids aren't his. Paternity test needs to be mandatory. Please like this video below. Really appreciate that. Let's get that challenge. Ciao, time.
I am not for mandatory paternity testing.
But we've been together for over 50 years.
Fathers do not have rights to their child.
Fellas, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into some truly intriguing and shocking cases. First, we'll discuss the heart-wrenching story of a man who discovered after 50 years that the children he raised aren't his.
And this ain't even the first story. We have that judge who was over 50 years too. This is more common than not, but women always defend each other, saying that women just don't do bad things. Women don't do horrible things. They don't lie.
His biological kids. Next, we'll look into the controversial statement from a family law attorney who claims that fathers don't have rights to their children born outside of marriage. We'll also tackle the heated debate around mandatory paternity tests, featuring a woman who strongly opposes them. Finally, we'll explore the emotional tale of a woman who found out that her mother lied to her about her biological father. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. Let's jump right in and unpack these gripping stories.
Mr. Willis, what brings you in the courtroom today?
I have been wondering for a long time about whether these children, we have 3 children, whether they're mine or not, they're all so ugly and they don't look like me. I'm a real handsome dude and these kids look like...
The man knows his worth. The man knows what his genes are.
They come right off the street.
Okay, Mrs. Willis.
Yes.
I mean, y'all have been together for a long time. What is your take on
We've
it?
been together for over 50 years.
Wow, 50 years. And you sitting in front of me today.
And I married a man, I mean, is he anything to look at?
I mean, he must have been. You've been with him long enough now.
Well, I
Miss
married
Willis.
him for his personality,
That lady in the back just started busting up.
not his looks.
Ooh, well, some personality here.
And he says my kids aren't good looking. Well, ugly men make ugly children, honey. These are your kids. I mean, you think just because you traveled so damn much that I was fooling around? Hell, I was home with the kids.
Well, when I came home, you were kind of messed up a couple times.
What does that mean, messed up?
Well, you know. And then once I came home...
I had my period. I mean, come on.
What? Wait a minute.
You think you just walk in the house
Wait, you
nookie?
Okay, you gotta watch what you say in my courtroom now, Mrs.
I said I
Willis.
had my period. What's wrong
I
with
know.
saying that?
I need order. I need order in my court.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, everybody is speaking out of turn. Everything is going every which way now. I need some order in here.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know, one time I came home and I pulled in the front driveway and I saw this car down the street take off because somebody came out the back door.
It was the repairman. I told you, the washing machine.
This sounds even more and more just incriminating yourself, girl.
was broken.
You told me it was the postman.
No, that was the other time.
Oh, the
Mrs.
other
Willis.
time.
I mean, so do he have any? Is it any doubt in your mind that these kids, all 3 of them, not 1, not 2, but all 3 of them is not his?
They're his kids. I mean,
All right, Mr. Willis. Now, do you hope these kids are yours?
Yeah, I mean, even though they're ugly, because if they weren't mine, I would have just been pissing my money away all these years, taking care of those little brats.
True.
Okay.
that's, you know, I don't get this, because if I was going to fool around while you were gone, don't you think I would have picked some good-looking men that look better than you do?
No.
Okay. All right. Who brought y'all here today? What brought y'all?
Well, he did. He watches this crap on TV. He said, I want to go to one of those courtrooms and
He got red pilled watching TV.
prove that these brats aren't mine. I don't think they're brats. I think they're wonderful kids. And I don't think they're ugly.
So
But-
that
Well, you know, I've seen all these great results, and I want to prove it because if they aren't mine, I've had it.
You had.
What
so
do you mean
done.
you had it?
prepared.
Wait a minute. We've been together over 50 years, and you're going to walk out the door. Look, he won't even look at me.
I got a nice young lady waiting out there.
Oh. Wait.
All right. Shouldn't be fucking cheating and doing all these things, but I'm almost positive she's been cheating on this man. So, and this man is doing his thing. Don't do what he did, but I'm not mad at him.
So you prepare. So you telling me after 50 years you gonna walk with this young lady you claim you got waiting in the bushes somewhere, but you talked about her with the milkman and the plumber and everybody else, but you got this young thing waiting on you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We need some.
Sure.
We're gonna have to get down to the bottom
I
of this, and I mean fast at this point.
I got to cover myself.
Cover yourself.
Wow.
Seemed like you should have been covering back then and not right now.
You know, if you'd stayed.
You know, this is I'm not a big fan of the judge so far. Like, when she said that, if the kids aren't his, it wouldn't have mattered if he covered. Right? So shut the fuck up.
Home, you wouldn't have this question in your mind.
I had too much.
Oh, see, now it's his fault. His fault for being out working and doing all these things and leaving her alone.
I'm not staying home.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? I'm not finna keep going back and forth. I'm finna go ahead and get down to these results. All right, guys, I got these results in my hand. Is there any final words that you wanna get out before I read these results?
I don't know why we're here. We've been together all this time. You traveled a lot. You think I was fooling around. I think you were probably fooling around when you were on the road.
That's
I
not
bet
true.
there's some ugly kids
If
out
these
there
kids,
that belong
I
to
don't want
you.
these kids around me if they're not mine.
Honey, you've raised them.
Well, yeah.
Don't you love them?
They're,
I mean, you call them ugly. This is just...
they get in my way.
Oh,
See, look at her. She knows. She definitely knows. Look at her, how trying like to soften the blow, trying to like make him less angry, trying to make him remember that they're his kids. These are tactics, man.
This is just wrong.
Tactics.
This is just
well,
wrong.
you know what? I didn't have a time in here with you guys today, and I'm gonna go ahead and get y'all out my hair.
Yeah, tell
So-
them. They're my kids. I mean, they're your kids.
All right. The results reads as follow. First, child, Mr. Willis, you are not the father.
That's what I figured.
No. Oh, that's good.
Mrs.
No,
Willis.
that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Second child,
That's got to be. It's a mistake.
Mr. Willis, you are not the father.
You are reading someone else's file. This can't
So
be true.
I have a mailman and a plumber.
Oh my God! Oh, wait! No, hey!
I'm sorry.
Words.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I just.
Child 3, Mr. Willis. I pray and I hope,
Please.
but you are not the father. Oh my God!
Honey, I love you. Don't leave me.
Fuck you and your betrayal whore ass. For 50 years, this man thought that they were his kids. 50 plus years, this man took care of you, took care of them, and they have no ties to him biologically. And you're gonna still... Fuck you! And you're lying whore ass this whole time. I see the manipulation tactics that you were using right before the results came out. So fuck you.
You love those kids.
Thank you, Honor. I will see you around. I told you those kids were ugly. And they don't look.
You're ugly. That's why they're ugly.
They
They're
look
your
just like
kids.
the
That's
mailman's.
all wrong.
All right, let's get into it. So,
Okay.
you've probably noticed a trend where men are increasingly skeptical about marriage. And honestly, who can blame them? Women have been 304s since the dawn of time. And now they're not even hiding it because it's considered empowering. In today's society, women are seen as inherently innocent, even when proven guilty. This is a prime example of why mandatory paternity tests upon birth are needed, especially if men are forced to be responsible for a female's decision. If it's his wallet on the line, it should be his choice. Let's talk about paternity fraud for a moment. This is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. It should be a punishable crime because the consequences are severe for the men involved. Imagine raising a child, investing emotionally and financially, only to find out years later that the child isn't yours. Women will never take accountability for their actions. They will lie until they are caught, and even then, they will make excuses and blame you for everything. And let's talk about why this matters so much. In today's dating landscape, many men feel like they're being set up to fail. They see women who can cry on demand and play the victim card, but when it comes to taking responsibility for their actions, it's a whole different story. Accountability is their kryptonite. They can lie, cheat, and manipulate, and when they get caught, they'll spin the story to make themselves look like the victim and blame you for everything that
You saw at the end, after the results, you said, oh, they're ugly because you're ugly. They're your kids. The results came in, you lying whore.
went wrong. This lack of accountability is a major reason why men are saying no thanks to marriage. They see the risks, potential betrayal, financial ruin, and emotional heartbreak. Paternity fraud is a serious issue, and it should be treated as a crime. Men deserve to know the truth, and they deserve to be with someone who values honesty and integrity. Now, let's dive deeper. Why is this happening? Why are so many women seemingly avoiding accountability? Part of it is societal conditioning. Women are often portrayed as the perpetual victims, needing protection and support. This narrative has been reinforced for generations, making it easy for them to play the victim when it suits them. But here's the thing. Men are waking up to this game. They're tired of being the scapegoat, and they're tired of the double standards.
I am not for mandatory paternity testing, but I am against men being forced to father children that aren't theirs. And the following story is wild. Gypsy Rose Blanchard married her husband Ryan while incarcerated. In December, Gypsy was released. In March, they split, and in April, she filed for divorce. In May, she confirmed that she was back together with her ex-fiance, Ken. Then last week, Gypsy announced that she was 11 weeks pregnant with Ken's child. This would put the date of conception around April, the same month that she filed for divorce. And this is where it gets interesting. According to People magazine, as stated in Louisiana law, if the mother is married to someone other than the biological father when the child was conceived or has been divorced for less than 300 days at the time of birth, the husband/ex-husband shall be the presumed father, unless paternity is established for the biological father. With this law in place, the only way that Ken's name will go on the birth certificate is if Ryan signs an affidavit that Ken is the father. If he doesn't, and Ken wants his name on the birth certificate, he will have to file a motion with the courts, and the courts will make all three of them take a DNA test to determine the father. This is called marital presumption of paternity, and it's not just in Louisiana. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
All right, let's break this down.
Then why are you against paternity testing?
Why is she against mandatory paternity tests? It's like saying, I'm against murder, but we should only investigate suspects selectively.
Right?
If you're against automatic paternity tests, you are part of the problem. This is yet another glaring example of how irresponsible and unaccountable some women can be. Men need to protect themselves from false accusations. A mandatory paternity test means that women can't be trusted at all. Too many married men have paid thousands and raised children that aren't theirs, unknowingly. We have the technology to put a stop to this, so why aren't we using it? If we can have a federal abortion law, then we can have a federal paternity law. Consider this. Not my kid. Instant grounds for divorce.
It's not a federal abortion law. It's just a law saying that, abortion should not be held federally. It should be held statewide. That's what that law is. So it's just giving it to the states.
Every child deserves to know who their father is. No man should be forced to raise someone else's child under false pretenses. The concept of marital presumption is outdated and abusive. It assumes that a child born in a marriage is the husband's, but in today's world, with the technology we have, this presumption can be easily and accurately verified. When women oppose mandatory paternity tests, it raises questions about accountability and transparency.
I feel it's always them trying to defend some women. Not all women, but they're trying to still defend some of the women that are doing these bad things.
Why would anyone be against ensuring the truth about parentage? If you're faithful and honest, a paternity test should pose no threat. It's about protecting everyone involved, especially the children.
Fathers do not have rights to their child. If you're the father of a child who was born out of wedlock, then you really don't have any rights. But there's a way to change that, and here's how you do it. You can either sign the birth certificate, it's called a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, or you can file a paternity case in court and have the judge declare you to be the father. That way you're the biological and legal father of that child, and that gives you certain rights. The problem is, even though you have rights, you've got to
Is it enough?
assert those rights. If you don't have a visitation or custody order in place signed by a judge, then you leave the child's mother to determine what your parenting time is. And let me tell you, that can be troublesome because a mom, if you don't pay child support, can simply say, hey, you're not going to see your child until you pay child support. Well, in order to solve that problem, you go to court and you ask the judge to set a parenting schedule. That way you know what your time is, and the mom knows what your time is. That way, if mom violates the order and doesn't give you your parenting time, then she can be held in contempt. But guess what? You could also be held in contempt for not exercising that parenting time.
What?
So it works both ways.
Jeez,
but that's
okay.
really the only way you're going to have rights to your child, visitation rights, is to go to court and get an order from the judge.
A father has no rights but is forced to pay child support. And once those orders are in place, the mother can often ignore them without facing any consequences. What a joke of a system we keep perpetuating. Where are the feminists demanding equality when it comes to this issue? Why don't mothers have to face the same stringent enforcement? Parental rights are not tied to marriage. They are
Like, I actually somewhat get it because someone should have those rights. And I guess it makes sense that it goes to the mother that gave birth to the child. It's just, you can automatically assume that it's their child. So there's no questions about it. So I can understand how the thought process worked to get to this point, but there's issues.
fundamental rights. These rights are not created by marriage, nor do they dissolve upon divorce. This disparity needs to be addressed seriously. Shouldn't we consider parental alienation a form of child abuse? Absolutely. Alienating a child from one parent, especially when there is no cause other than personal vendettas, is harmful to the child's well-being. Even with court orders, fathers barely have rights. The system is rigged against them, and it's time to be serious about these injustices. Family court often feels like a mob-style system where children are held for ransom, with the parent willing to throw the most money around winning custody. It's a deeply flawed and unfair system that doesn't prioritize the best interests of the child, but rather focuses on financial transactions and punitive measures against fathers. Fathers are expected to pay child support diligently, yet when it comes to enforcing visitation rights or addressing parental alienation, the courts are often slow to act, if they act at all. This double standard is glaring and needs immediate correction. The court system should enforce parental rights just as rigorously as they enforce child support payments. Moreover, the idea that a father's rights are less valid because they are not tied to marriage is antiquated and unjust. Parental rights should be based on the relationship between the parent and the child, not the marital status of the parents.
True.
This approach would ensure that fathers are treated fairly and that their relationship with their children is protected. The current system also fails to recognize the emotional and psychological damage caused by parental alienation.
Even I've seen it with friends. I have a good amount of, again, I grew up in Compton, guys, so single motherhood wasn't a strange thing to me. So yeah, I've seen a lot of my friends really struggle without the father, without the dad, because they looked at me and they saw how, like, even though my dad was very stringent and very like, damn, that guy, that's the kind of dad you don't want to fuck around with, they still envied me. We spoke about it when we were younger. This is why I know.
When a parent, typically the mother in many cases, systematically turns a child against the other parent, it's a form of abuse. The courts need to take this seriously and implement measures to prevent and address parental alienation swiftly and effectively. Imagine this scenario. You decide to take a DNA test just out of curiosity or maybe for some medical reasons. 6 years ago, a woman did just that and uncovered a devastating family secret. She found out that the man she had known and loved as her father wasn't her biological father. To make matters worse, her biological father turned out to be a convicted murderer. But let's hear more from her.
Oh, wow. Let's have it.
Don't take a DNA test if you can't handle finding out that you might be the daughter of a murderer. Ooh. And that your husband's ex-wife could possibly be your close family member or even sister. So I've gotten multiple requests for an update or a part 2 on the DNA results. I did a DNA test about 6 years ago. I have some cousins on my dad's side who are a lot older than me. They're his age. So I'm 34. They'd be in their 60s by now. There was no suspicions about paternity whenever I did this. They were just doing DNA tests with all the cousins that they could contact.
Oh, yeah, just the whole 23andMe. This is what I'm saying. 23andMe has destroyed more families than almost anything out there.
Wanted to grow their family tree and learn more about their side of the family.
That makes sense.
So they emailed me and I agreed. We used family tree DNA. I just did the cheek swab and then sent it in. And I remember making a joke to my siblings saying, you know what, I bet you my dad really isn't my dad. Because there's 4 of us and we all have different dads, so it really wouldn't have been that surprising. We also had multiple stepdads, so it was just one of those.
There's 4 of you with 4 baby. She's a 4. Your mother's a 4x4.
Those things that we laughed about to keep from crying, I guess, to make jokes about our messed up life. So the results come back, and I did not match any of the cousins who had also taken that test. Yeah. I reached out to my cousin, and I told him that I didn't see them on there, or maybe I didn't know what I was doing. And he said, well, there could be a couple of explanations for this. He was pretty good with genealogy and DNA and all that stuff. So he said, the most obvious reason would be that you are not your father's daughter. But then there's where the drama starts. He said that when my uncle and my dad were little, my grandparents had a big fight about the way they looked because one looked a lot like somebody else, a different dad. I don't know if they ever figured that out. Apparently, my uncle is a lot darker than what my grandfather thought he should be. They're all Caucasian, and I think that he thought maybe my uncle was Hispanic or maybe even black. I'm not sure what the issue was there because all of them are passed away now, and I don't have anybody to ask about it. Oh. So I guess that then brought up the question as if any of my grandmother's children belonged to my grandfather. So what we decided to do was ask my grandma to take a DNA test because I was the only person that really still kept in touch with her. She was in the nursing home and we would visit her every now and then when we were able because it's kind of far away. I did not tell her that I was suspected that my dad really wasn't my dad because I think that really would have broken her heart. I was her baby. But when we went to visit her, I just told her that since she was the oldest living family member that I wanted to get a DNA test on her just so that we could do our family tree. Mm-hmm. She did it, and we waited for those results to come back, and she and I did not match. I never told her this. I didn't want to break her heart. It was
good on you, girl. Good on you for not wanting to break your grandmother's heart. Even though she's not your biological grandmother, you seem like you guys have a great relationship. I'm glad that you kept it intact and didn't destroy her. Because this would probably destroy her.
It's just there was no reason for it. There was nothing that I was going to gain out of asking her any questions because she probably had no idea. Agreed. And even if she did, she was just too old and too sick for me to be bothering her with that. So then started my questions to my mom. She was not happy about that.
Of course she isn't.
Girl lied. She lied so bad and they said that I was being scammed by that DNA test. Which I guess I can understand if you almost 30 years later, you thought you got away with something and then boom, here comes all these questions.
I'm glad she said it that way because you thought you almost got away with it for 30 fucking years.
But I wasn't mad. I wasn't mean about it. I was just like, hey, so by the way, I did a DNA test and, Chuck's not my dad. So who is it? She wasn't budging, so I had to go and investigate on my own. I even got to the point where I was like, well, maybe, am I adopted or something? Am I not your kid? So I was just like trying to pick and get answers from her. She just wasn't. No. So we found somebody that's, they are called search angels or DNA detectives. I found her on Facebook. Her name is Dawn, and if she gives me permission, she has given me permission in the past to share her information, but I want to reach out to her and make sure that she's still doing this kind of work before I share any information, just in case somebody out there is looking for the same type of help. But I just basically gave her my story, told her what was going on, and she did her thing, and she was able to find a lot of information really fast. I still kept asking my mom just because I I wanted to know from her. I didn't want to have to just find this out through a DNA test. I wanted to know her story. I wanted to know what was going on. I told her, I'm not mad at you. I just want to know. And she got mad and she was like, why do you even care? Why do you want to know so bad? And I was like,
you don't want to know your true family? You don't want to know where you came from? Most people do.
Because she told me.
I mean, most people don't have to question it. That's the problem. That's why I don't think people realize it. But the people that do have to question it, yeah, they yearn for this information.
It wasn't my business. I was like, excuse me, ma'am. It is my business to know who my father is and if I have any more siblings or anything like that. She was fiery mad, and she finally just said, I don't know. It was some guy in a white truck. She told me that she worked at a bar, and she was I guess a bartender / waitress, and my dad that I thought was my dad the whole time was a bouncer, and they had broken up, and I guess to get revenge on him for whatever she was mad at him about, she messed around with some other people. So she found out she was pregnant, and it was just easier for her to pin me on Chuck, who I thought was my dad. Not the greatest choice, but I guess when you find out about my real father, I guess he was the better of the two. So if you want to know what happened next, just go ahead and follow me, and I'll keep making updates because this is going to be a long story and it gets interesting, so don't get bored with this.
This revelation shook her to the core.
So many of these stories are coming out now. So many. And women still want to play this victim angel card. When no, you're just whores. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Catch you guys next time. Ciao.